This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for July 17th, 2025. This is season 14, episode number 74, and episode number 513 in a long-running podcast. It is the Power Play Post Show. And yes, we will be starting season 15 of the Power Play Post Show in August, because then we'll be closer to the next season of pro hockey here in Binghamton, New York. We'll have maybe even a little bit of a new intro that even Taylor does not know about yet. So that'll be pretty cool. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Power Play Post Show. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And, okay, it's July. We're in the middle of July, Taylor, right? And I know other people are probably not thinking about hockey. Maybe some of our fans that listen to the show are thinking about hockey. And, every time we, post the signings in the message group, it gets a lot of likes and loves and some comments, which is pretty cool. Obviously, one that we have to talk about. We're not going to say the last name, though. That's the funny part. We are going to leave the last name completely out of this to kind of appease what we said last week about not mentioning a certain name. Taylor, I've been thinking about this the last couple of days since the Black Bears. I think we were thrown under the bus on this one.
I think so too, whether it was, just to be fun or whether it was just to be a little bit mean. I think we were kind of thrown under the bus there too. And
I'm gonna call out the guy that I think did this to us, and I think it's Brant Sherwood. I think Brant Sherwood listened. Well, I know he listens to the show. He likes the show, and I think he heard us last week, and he said, "Damn it, we're gonna push that signing through to force these guys to have to talk about a certain person that we said we were not going to talk about. We were going to have a free show of talking about a particular goaltender who might be the MVP playoff and, winner of 14 of 15 playoff games in the last two seasons and a two-time Commissioner's Cup champion. And I don't know how many times he won goalie of the month, maybe 3 times. So I think we were set up here, which is fine. I kind of understand it and everything. Taylor, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. There was some crazy storms that come through. And then just this past week, there was flooding in Newark Valley. I mean, what is going on in the world today?
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually, when those storms started coming through, because we live up in Whitney Point.
Sure.
I was looking around to see where all these roads were and everything, because I wanted to see if we were going to be affected or how bad it was going to be. And I didn't find anything that was that close to us, but it's getting pretty dangerous everywhere else, it seems.
Yeah, it really is. Whether trees are coming down at the Box Studios here in Kirkwood, New York. And I want to thank everybody who offered to come over and help out. Luckily, I'm still a youngish, spry kind of guy, and I can go out there and use a chainsaw and chop up some wood, which was good. But I do appreciate the help. And one of the cool things that happens, and we don't have enough of this in the world, Taylor. I don't want to just talk about this for a second. When natural disasters happen, it usually means that people stop thinking about politics, religion, and all the things that people fight about, and they come together and help people. It's weird, but it's true. It happened in 2011 with the floods here in Binghamton, New York. Everybody came together. Nobody was saying, oh, he's a blah, 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 or he's a blah. And, they didn't fight about that. They were just like, oh, crap, you're almost drowning. Let me help you. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So I know it's kind of weird to kind of celebrate that type of stuff, but realistically, I even saw that when the trees fell here at, Box Studios here in Kirkwood. Everybody just came out of their houses, got out of their cars, and we just started moving stuff off the road. And we were helping, and people were like, hey, do you want me to help you in the backyard? That type of thing. Because I had some pretty crazy stuff happen in the backyard. It's amazing to me how natural disasters sometimes strips everybody of all the weird stuff and kind of makes them human again.
Yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate that that's what it takes to kind of bring a community back together when things seem rough.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. All right. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group every single week. Even in the summertime, we're getting like 2 or 3 people joining the group. I really do appreciate that. Every Saturday when that post comes out, I'm like, wow, there's 2 more people. I mean, I'll take it because I know it's the slow time of the year. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, nobody knew about it. Even I didn't until yesterday. But Black Bears netminder Nolan Egbert is on the show, and we'll talk a little bit about everything that you would want to hear from Nolan, from hockey, training, and maybe even the re-signing of somebody we weren't supposed to talk about this week, and even about music and some of the concerts he's seen this year. I think Nolan Egbert ranks up there with you and Jeremy with concerts, going to see concerts, that he loves live music. And he doesn't care really the genre of music, Taylor. It's just going to see it. And I know you and Jeremy, like from heavy metal to country music, you guys will go see.
Yeah, I'm not picky about who I go to see. I'm more of I would like to just say that I've seen this person kind of a person.
Right.
I enjoy going and listening to music. And even if it's somebody that I'm not a major fan of, I end up tending to really enjoy the concert, which is always super nice.
Yeah. I find for me, when I go see live music, whether it's country, rock, I haven't really seen any real rap shows live or whatever, but I have seen some like R&B, which is, a little bit less rap, more rhythm and blues type of stuff. And I just seem to just enjoy live music. It doesn't have to be something I listen to on a daily basis. It's just seeing the production, the people up on the stage, the musicians, everybody singing. Maybe even sometimes it's the light show or whatever. But for some reason, I can really get into live music. And I think it's been that way since I was a kid.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, especially like if you end up talking to people that are next to you and you just kind of like enjoy the same kind of things. It's an interesting way to make friends that you probably won't ever see again in your life, but it's a really fun time.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. So fans, you'll get to hear who Nolan has seen so far this year, and which is pretty cool. Okay, so Taylor, let's get into this and talk a little bit about the signings first, because we have some fun stuff to talk about a little bit later. We have thoughts on Super Mario. This is more of your thing that you're going to talk about in a little bit. Re-signing with the Carolina Thunderbirds, which I think is pretty cool. I'm going to rank the franchises here in Binghamton from 8 to 1. This might be the most controversial thing that I've done. And Taylor has not seen the list. Okay, so she's going to walk us through it, but I'm going to go through the 8 franchises. And I did break it up: Dusters, North American Hockey League, Dusters, AHL, right? Because it's a little bit different. But let's get through the signings first.
All right, the Black Bears have signed a pair of new faces, and I think this is the first week we've had 3 new signings all at once.
Yeah.
Normally it's 1 or 2. Our first signee is Jacob Shankar, is a 26-year-old winger from Prescott, Ontario.
Who else is from Prescott, Ontario?
Oh, you're going to quiz me now?
Yeah. Might be the captain of the Binghamton Black Bears, Tyson Kirkby, is also from Prescott, Ontario.
Oh, I know, the 2 people who are from Massachusetts, if that counts.
That would be Gavin Yates.
And the name that shall not be said.
Oh, crap. Yep. So we'll go with CMAC. We're allowed to say that, probably. But, yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's 2 messages. All right, carry on. Sorry about that.
You're good. Shankar has spent the last 4 seasons playing in the college ranks. His first 2 seasons were at Concordia University of Wisconsin, where he played in 34 games. He finished out his college career at Wentworth Institute of Technology in Boston. In his final 2 seasons, he had 10 goals and 13 assists. He adds size to the Black Bears forward group, standing at 6'1" and 196 pounds.
Right, nice. That's the height isn't there, but the weight is definitely there.
I feel like everybody always looks so tall, and even after they take their skates off, sometimes I'm shocked by how tall all of these players are. Especially like the college guys and the young ones. It's always shocking.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, Dakota's tall. C-Mac is tall. There's definitely some guys with some serious height. Dan Weber has got some height to him. But then you got most of the guys that, I mean, like I think I tower over Gavin Yates. I mean, I know he can skate circles around me, but you know, Gavin's a shorter guy, probably 5'9", 5'10", and I'm taller than him for sure. And Chris Mott, I'm taller than, but some of the guys are about my height, 6 foot. So it's about right.
Our next signee is Zachary Desmarais. He is another big forward addition to the Black Bears. While standing at an even 6 foot, the lefty forward played in 94 games at NCAA D3 University of Southern Maine. During his time with the Huskies, Desmarais tallied 15 goals and 20 assists. Zach is a native to Drummondville, Quebec, where he spent most of his time playing youth hockey until his time in the juniors. Shankar and Desmarais are the second and third new signees for the Black Bears this season, joining Tim Kim.
So we have 3 new guys. I think we've signed 5 returning guys. I think that's about 8 guys so far that we've signed to PTOs. Black Bears like to announce this stuff, a little bit slower than everybody else, 2 or 3 signings a week, give people every single week something to look forward to read about, that type of thing. It'll be interesting. I look forward to seeing these guys in camp and seeing, what their abilities are. Here's the thing I'm going to say about Shankar. Shankar played in the junior ranks, junior A, in the CCHL. Now, the CCHL, which is the Canadian Conference Hockey League or something like that, it's a junior A league, which is one step below major juniors. And there's probably 8 or 9 junior A leagues throughout North America. And this junior A league that he comes out of is the highest ranked of the junior A leagues. So he's got some serious skill. He's going to bring some skill to this team. I totally believe that based on the league that he's coming out of. That was one of the things that I learned when I was looking into him a little bit, because Brant is very high on this guy. I think this is a guy that he's thinking that very quickly could move into his top 6 forward ranks. So it'll be interesting to see both of these guys in training camp and see if Shankar can crack that top 6.
Yeah, I think I know everybody, like, as you see the new signings, especially for the very new players that are coming, you kind of see the torn love and affection and the somewhat disappointment in the fans, because they're excited that a new person is coming, but at the same time, it's almost like they're worried somebody that they've gotten to know last season isn't coming back, and that's always such a hard transition.
Yeah.
But I think by now the fans know that Brent knows what he's doing when he's recruiting. And I think overall, it's just, we're going to see some great talent like we did last year and the year before.
Yeah. And I think people need to understand that in minor league hockey, and especially at the single A level, like a Connor Smith, he might come in and have a very successful season. And Connor Smith could have played last year and he could have been just as good or even probably better than he was. Maybe he would have been that right wing first liner, with Austin Thompson and Tyson Kirkby the whole season. But, because it is single A and, people hear this when I talk to Nolan a little bit later, they don't make millions of dollars. I hope you guys understand that. They don't make millions of dollars. It's not the NHL. It's not even the AHL, where a couple of the guys now in each team could make up to $1 million, depending on how their 2-way contract is done. These guys don't make that kind of money. So some guys are just going to leave. We already know that Kyle Steffen is more than likely not coming back. Don Oliveri, depending on what he decides to do. I mean, the last time I talked to him, he still was like, no, I haven't even thought about it and I'm going to wait. I don't think he's training to come back. Not that I think that the last couple seasons he's trained or been on ice before he came into camp with Binghamton. I think Don is always like in decent shape, so to speak. I think he keeps himself that way, but he wasn't even skating. I mean, all of our guys that are going to come back, Taylor, they skate in the off ice. They skate against pros, against college players. They do a lot of on ice training in the summertime. Maybe some guys more than other guys. But Don didn't the last couple of years, and look at the years that he had. It's kind of crazy to think about it. But that's just the way it is. So I think fans are going to be disappointed when some guys don't come back, but they can fall in love with these new guys too.
Yeah, I don't really think you can kind of hold anything to Don about his training or lack thereof training.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just looking at his career for anybody, the amount of different levels and leagues and things that he's done, I think anybody would be lucky to have him. Should he figure out a way to keep playing, I think it would be great. Whether it's they figure out him coming back here or he finds somewhere else to play. But at the same time, he also he has his life figured out. So
yeah.
He's good no matter what happens.
No, exactly. I totally agree. All right. So the guy that we said we weren't going to talk about, but now we have to talk about him. C-Mac signs on for a third season. The 26-year-old goalie has posted a record of 49-6-5 during his 2 seasons in Binghamton. The past season, C-Mac recorded 4 shutouts, a franchise record for a single season, and became the all-time leader in shutouts with 6. This past season, Connor won 16 straight starts and had 1 assist. He finished the season with a 2.08 goals against average and a save percentage of .922. Very, very respectable numbers there, earning him the title of goaltender of the year in the FPHL. And if I remember correctly, 2 months he won goalie of the month. I think they combined March and April together, and he won that one. In the postseason, the Massachusetts native shines brighter with a combined record of a 14-1-0. In the 2025 championship run, C-Mac posted 4 shutouts in 8 games played. He played. His goals against average was .088, the best in league history, and save percentage of .970. He also picked up 2 assists, including in Game 3 of the Commissioner Cup Finals against Carolina. And this does not mean, folks, that C-Mac will 100% be here, because he could get a tryout in the ECHL and maybe make a team. That was the whole point of us talking about him last week, getting management. But I think if he doesn't make the ECHL, having C-Mac here for a third season is excellent for, obviously, the Binghamton Black Bears.
Yeah, I think this signing doesn't surprise anybody. I mean, from his interview a couple months ago, he just very much states how much he loves playing here and he loves being in Binghamton. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Unless, like you said, he gets a good deal for the ECHL, maybe. But I think he's going to have another great year here in Binghamton.
No, I agree. And I can't wait to see. Now, here's the thing, Taylor. Let's talk about this for a second, because I think it's important. Can they better what they did last year? I mean, if you look at the win total last year, which was 49 wins out of 56 games, let's be honest. Can they really beat that? Can they actually do better? Can they get 50 wins? I mean, sure, you can say yes, but logically, can we really say that they can get 50 wins next year?
I would say anything is possible. I mean, I'm sure they kind of thought the first year where they had, good numbers again, and they came into this season and they knew exactly what they wanted to do and what they were fighting for, and they never let off the gas about that. So realistically, in my opinion, if they go into the training and they work harder than ever and they come into this season knowing that they want the three-peat, knowing that they want more wins, I think anything is possible for this team. I really do.
Interesting. I think the league is getting better. I think that's what makes it tougher for Brant and his squad to maybe match or do better than the 49 wins. I think the league overall is getting better. Just look at what they're doing in Danbury. I think they hired AJ Galante to be their general manager, so they have a dedicated general manager that's going to do the job, who knows single A hockey very well. They signed Nick Niedert to be their head coach. So they're going to have a head coach on the bench at all times. They also signed MJ Merkel to be the assistant coach to Nick Niedert. Other teams, look at what Port Huron did, tapping into Trine University and pulling out those players that helped make them a better team at the end of the season, and they were tough in the playoffs. I just think this league is getting better, and I think that's what's going to make it tougher for Brant and this squad. I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm saying it's going to be tougher for them to do it. They're going to have to come in hungrier to get 49 wins this year than they did last year.
I do think that the league overall is getting better, which is great for the league. The only thing that I could kind of use to counter what you're saying is that, yes, these teams are getting head coaches, which is great. You know, it's always nice to see a team getting head coaches, because then you don't have to, head player like Ruiz last year doesn't have to try to do both, or he can't play certain games because he has to be the coach. I do think that is awesome. But if you look at Brant's first season, I mean, he came in late, but it takes you time to kind of iron out being a head coach, in my opinion. So I think they're going to have some bumpier road to get to where they're, going to be steadily good, where we're kind of going to be coming off of a firing team that it's already ready to go. Yep, I can totally see that. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be very tough. I think what's going to be tough for the fans, though, is seeing some of the same teams a little bit too much. We already talked about that with the schedule. 9 straight games against either Danbury or Watertown. That's tough. You and I are going to be writing about that and going, oh, God, no more of Danbury or no more of Watertown. 13 and 14 games against those two teams. That's 27 games. That's just under... that's like 48% of your games against two teams in a season. That's going to be tough. The schedule at the end of the year with so little home games going to be tough. The fans are really going to have to come early and often to help make it a successful season. But I think the Black Bears being on the road as much as they're going to be the last couple months, that's a little tough too. It's tough on them because that's at the end of the season where everybody's got bumps and bruises and sleeping in your own beds. I'll tell you right now, I've talked to a lot of hockey players. Sleeping in their own bed is like the best medicine that they can have. It's where they're most comfortable, that type of thing. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. We'll talk more about the regular the season, coming up in season 15 of the Power Play Post show. But let's move on from here. All right. So as Bobby had mentioned a little bit ago about he's going to be ranking the 8 Binghamton hockey franchises. There are 8 different franchises in Binghamton hockey history, with the Dusters split into 2 with the NAHL and the AHL versions of the Dusters. Then you have the Whalers, Rangers, Icemen, Senators, Devils, and of course the Black Bears. So I do not know what this list is like. I know that he was making the list, but I do not know any of the numbers or who he's ranking where. Yep. So who is your 8th ranked franchise in Binghamton hockey history?
Okay, so this one might perturb a couple people that I know are fans of this era of Binghamton hockey. But number 8 is the Binghamton Whalers. Okay. Now, there's 10 seasons of the Binghamton Whalers. And the best way I can explain the Whalers 10 years is just a major disappointment across the board. All right. Last on the list because of the lowest average attended for any of the AHL teams during the heyday of the AHL in Binghamton, excluding the Devils, which saw COVID kill the Devils. Though the team stayed in Binghamton for 10 seasons, half of the time was owned by the Hartford Whalers before local ownership group took over. But the attendance never rebounded. One visit to the finals in 81-82, 52 wins in 84-85 with a big letdown in the playoffs to the Baltimore Skipjacks. And then in 86-87, the first of many exits of the playoffs to the Rochester Americans after a 47-win season. Pretty good season there. The best part of most of the years of the Whalers was their logo. The logo was always considered one of the best logos in minor league hockey. Some great players played through Binghamton in the 80s, like Ross Yates, Ken Holland, Shane Churla, who was a big enforcer for the Whalers, Paul Fenton, and Peter Sidorkovitz. But the team disappointed more in the playoffs and at the box office, which was surprising, with most tickets for all 10 seasons being under $10 per ticket. There was the 89-90 season, 11-60-9, which was the worst in an 80-game season in AHL history. I know people are going to really be upset with me about having the Devils 4 years ahead of the Whalers, Taylor, but there was nothing but disappointment. The Binghamton Whalers easily should have won 2 Calder Cups. They should have won 2 championships in the 80s. The 81-82 team was outstanding. They got into the playoffs, made it to the finals, lost to New Brunswick, and then that 84-85 season was just outstanding with the amount of wins that they had. 52 wins was a great season. They get in and they just, second round of the playoffs, Baltimore Skipjacks didn't just beat them, Taylor. They swept them in 4 games. Just the Whalers were just a big disappointment overall. The attendance is crazy. I do have the attendance number here. The average between them, well, actually, I don't have the average here. They never got over 4,000 fans in there on average for a season. The average capacity was never over 72% for the Binghamton Whalers. And it was a decline that started actually in the Dusters AHL years. And it just kept going until the Rangers came into play, which really helped the Rangers move up in my rankings because of their box office assessment. But number 8, Binghamton Whalers. And yes, you can email me at bob@binghamtonhockey.net if you have a problem with the Whalers being dead last in this list.
I mean, it was way before my time, so I have no idea about that. But the only thing that I know is people still love the logo.
They do. They really, really do.
Alrighty, so moving on. Yep. What's your number 7?
That would be the Binghamton Devils. The only reason why the Devils 3 seasons are above the Whalers, and I say 3 seasons because it's the only 3. They've played 3 seasons in Binghamton, and then of course the COVID year they played the games down in Newark Valley. It's very simple why they're ahead of the Whalers. They kept AHL hockey here for another 3 seasons, 4 if you count, obviously, the time they played in Newark. But the Devils were awful otherwise, though they were a decent run during the 1920 season before COVID shut everything down. The players were marginal. And as usual, the Devils come in and, yes, gave us 3 more years of hockey, but like they have done in most markets, they almost killed hockey here. Did not give us anything to cheer for, and the attendance suffered after the first season. And to be honest, they actually had one season where the first season, they averaged more fans than the Whalers did in all 10 years. That's basically the reason why I put them at number 7. I know people would say flip-flop the 2, put the Whalers up there. At least they made it to the finals. But you're looking at everything here. And to me, I look at the impact of, did the fans come out for them? Did the fans come out for the Whalers? They didn't. For some reason, they didn't. Great logo, some good teams. Fans just never showed up. And I'm not sure why. Maybe the 80s was tough economically. I was still a kid in school, so what do I know? And I don't even think you were born yet, so.
I'm a 97 baby, so.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't even realize you were that young. Holy crap. Boy, I feel old now. All right.
I only went to a couple of the Devils games. I didn't know anything about hockey during those times. It was more of we just went to get out of the house.
And you probably,
other than that,
and you probably enjoyed it than all of us traditionalists who were sitting there going, "Oh my God, why?"
I'll be honest, I only showed up for the fights, so I think I probably did enjoy myself, but I tend to have a good time no matter what. So,
and I will say this: the reason why the Devils are above the Whalers provided more disappointment than the Devils did. And I think that, to me, it factors into this. There was more disappointment for the fans, and then the fans didn't show up. I mean, we're talking about when you average out the 10 years for the Binghamton Whalers attendance, the only thing that it's better than are the Iceman years. That's no joke. The Icemen actually averaged less fans than the Whalers. But the Icemen are higher on this list for a very important reason. But let's go to number 6.
All right. You're number 6.
All right. The Dusters of the AHL. Okay. So this is the 77 to 1980 seasons of the Dusters in the AHL. And you have to break them up. So what happened, Taylor, is at the end of the 4th season of the North American Hockey League version of the Dusters, which was the Slapshot era. Everybody's seen Slapshot. They watch it. They know how crazy it was. Paul Newman played the part pretty well. But that 4 seasons ended. And then the next 3 seasons, the Dusters went to the AHL. They were sold. Jim Matthews sold the logo and the likeness to Andre Valou, I think is how he pronounced his name. He bought the old Providence Reds and Rhode Island Reds franchise that was around for like 50 years in the American Hockey League. Brought that to Binghamton, became the Broom Dusters of the AHL. Now, the new Dusters were not the original Dusters. No way, shape, or form. After the first season of the team averaged 46-23 fans per game in 77-78, but their franchise players like Rod Bloomfield left, and the AHL was a different game. And when I say different game, it was less fighting, less excitement, less what built up what the North American Hockey League was. Going from the North American Hockey League to the AHL was a big plus, right? Better hockey, right? Better players. The first games against the Hershey Bears and the Rochester Americans were exciting and fun. In the team's second season in 78-79, making the playoffs and getting to the second round against the New Haven Nighthawks was great. But the attendance for this new brand of hockey went down dramatically from 46-23 to 39-60 to 33-52. There's a reason why the Black Bears are higher on this list. They went from a low number and started creeping up. The Dusters AHL lost fans during a time in the country when gas prices were rising, the world was changing. Randy McGregor and Ken Holland continued their careers in the AHL, coming from the Dusters North American Hockey League squads, which also highlighted Richard Grenier and Joe Hardy. However, one of the most disappointing things was when the franchise was sold to the Hartford Whalers, the name Dusters, which meant so much in minor league hockey world back then, would never return. And a string of name the team after an NHL affiliate names came along. The thing that bugs me the most, Taylor, about the Dusters of the AHL, when they sold the team, the franchise, to Hartford so they could bring the Whalers here, they did a name the team contest. And the most disappointing thing to me was that there were like 61 votes. Not many people voted in it. I guess, through the newspaper back then, people just didn't vote on those type of things. But 61 people, I read this, 61 people voted for the Binghamton team to be called the Whalers. And think about it. Then we had the Rangers. Then we had the Senators. Then we had the Devils. And we lost your identity. And that's the thing that bugs me the most is when you go to a minor league city, you should never be named after your affiliate. You should have your own identity, something that the fans from your local town can really get behind. And it started when that shift, when the Dusters sold to Hartford, it was like, boom, that's it. Our identity went away. And that was very, very disappointing. But the brand of hockey, even though it was better quality hockey because it went to the American Hockey League, which is just below the NHL. Fans just did not enjoy it. And so it ranks 6th on my list.
All righty. That was, again, before anything I could have given you information about. Who's your number 5?
All right, this is the BC Icemen. The BC Icemen are at the middle of this list because, like the Black Bears, truly, the Icemen's legacy isn't on the ice. And yes, I know the Black Bears' legacy is what they've accomplished the last 2 years. But for the Icemen, it was about being, it was about the ice still being made in Binghamton. Right. So when the Rangers left, and the way the Rangers left was really crappy. OK, the ownership group here in Binghamton, Tom Mitchell, sold the franchise to Madison Square Garden, and they moved that team out to Hartford because Hartford Whalers moved down to Carolina to become the Hurricanes. And so they wanted to fill. And I think MSG and the New York Rangers really thought, hey, listen, if we can have a team closer to us, we will. Well, the Icemen really saved hockey here. And what's sad is 3,000 fans on average went to the games. That's really the sad part is the Icemen they got the least amount of fans of any franchise, on average. The fans today who come to the Black Bears games because they were so exposed to the years of Binghamton hockey at the AHL level. Well, actually, let me reread that. There are fans today who came to the Black Bears games because they were exposed to the Icemen. I know Victoria, who listens to this show, told me this story where she went to games with the Icemen, and those games those games really helped her get into hockey. And because of the Icemen, she became a Senators fan, and then Devils fan, and then, of course, a Black Bears fan. The Icemen was a bridge from 20 years of AHL hockey to 18 years of Binghamton hockey at the AHL level. The first All-Star game for Binghamton was played here during the Icemen days in 2001 on January 29th and 30th of that year. It proved that Binghamton was still a viable place to have hockey like the Black Bears have done as well. The first UHL player to be called directly to the NHL was Dieter Kocken. He was just put into the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame last season. And the Icemen are so important to Binghamton hockey history because though the attendance was low, they never made it to the finals. The Icemen kept hockey alive in Binghamton. And I really, truly believe, Taylor, that, their legacy was really about keeping hockey and that ice being made.
Well, I remember when they announced the jerseys that they were doing last year, and it was going to be the Icemen, that when they did the ceremony on the ice and he came out, although they weren't allowed to have the flaming stick, and everybody was disappointed about that. I think it brought a lot of excitement, and I think probably memories back for some of the people that were in attendance that night.
Yeah, I think so too. The fans really seem to enjoy those jerseys as well. They're very nice jerseys. The color just stood out really well, and I know a lot of the players liked them too. They really like the Whalers jerseys from 2 years ago, but they really also really enjoyed those Iceman jerseys as well.
We got an Iceman jersey. I didn't go into that night thinking we were going to get one, but we ended up coming home with one, which I should have known better. But
yeah, who did you guys get?
The name that can't be spoken.
All right, go through the jerseys. Which players do you have?
We have, the one that I always wear is Weber. It's my favorite one.
Yeah,
and that's the first responders jersey from 2 years ago.
Yeah,
we have the Stubbs first responder jersey from this year. He's got C-Max Iceman jersey, and I don't remember what else we have because I know he's sold quite a few. Sorry, that was the closet door.
That's okay.
He's got a couple Coachman. He has a regular jersey from Coachman, and then he has the cancer awareness one, the sock out cancer one. And the only reason he got that one was because we had never been to a jersey auction before. And he's like, the first person who comes out and fights we're getting their jersey. And 5 seconds after that, Coachman comes out on the ice and he went after, I can't think of his name. He was with the Wolves. Schmidt.
Okay. Justin Schmidt.
Yep.
Very cool.
And we tracked Justin down for like several years trying to get him to sign the jersey too. We finally did. And he's a super nice guy off the ice.
Yeah, absolutely. I only have Egbert and Liam Anderson's. That's it.
We had an Eggy jersey. We ended up selling it. I think it was another first responder one. I could be wrong, but we've had several. We've had Utoro, we've had Eggy, we've had a Clark. And whenever he, like a new player like Stubbs, he really wanted, so we kind of like weaned out some of the other ones because he really wanted Stubbs, and it's this whole back and forth thing.
Yeah, well, it's an addiction. I think for some fans, this can be an addiction, getting some of these jerseys. Let's move on with our list.
All right, so we're at number 4 now.
All right, so this is the Binghamton Senators, and I'm sure some people would probably think that this would be a little bit higher, but they're number 4 on this list for 2011 and 15 seasons. These are the only reasons why the Senators are ranked this high on the list. In 2011, the B-Sens, led by head coach Kurt Kleinendorf, captain Ryan Keller, and Robin Leonard, told their own special story, ranked last in the playoff rankings, crossed over to the Atlantic Division, and then ran the table to win the city's first professional hockey championship in 38 years. The team also played in Binghamton for 15 seasons, saw the likes of Ray Emery play here, Jason Spezza, and one of the best minor leaguers of all time, Denny Amell. Sadly, the B-Sens missed the playoffs 9 out of the 15 seasons, and tragically, the local ownership group sold the franchise to the Ottawa Senators, who then moved the franchise to Belleville, Ontario, to become the Belleville Senators. And I got to be honest with you, they're up here on this list, number 4. Number 1, because of the Calder Cup championship, that banner that now is going to have 2 of the Black Bears banners next to it, and just being here for 15 years. They built up a long history and a lot of fans who probably became fans of hockey because of the Senators.
I know that was Jeremy's favorite time to come to the hockey games. He still talks about it all the time, and how disappointed he was when the Devils came in, and he kind of refused to go to a Devils game
for a while. Yeah,
I think he went to maybe a handful, if that, but he was not a fan. He talks about the Senators and all the games and the players, and he talks like I was there. So it's always hard for me to relate to what he's talking about. But it sounds like when the Senators were here, it was fun hockey.
Yeah, there were times when it was, and they had 4 seasons where they averaged over 4,000 fans, mostly in the early days. In the first, I think 4 out of 5 seasons, they averaged over 4,000 fans. Believe it or not, they never raised their attendance after going deep in the playoffs. That's the crazy part about the Sens, and especially in 2011. In 2011, here's the really crazy thing when you look at the history of the Binghamton Senators, and you're going to laugh at this. Their lowest attended season was the 2010-2011 season when they won the championship. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because I remember when Jeremy was telling me that for the finals that there was like people standing.
Yes.
And it was literally filled to the brim with people.
Well, the playoffs, it picked up, right? After the first round, when they beat the Manchester Monarchs in 7 games, which was one of the best series of hockey I've ever seen. No, it's not the NHL level, it's the AHL level, but it was one of the best played 7-game series I've ever seen. After that, Binghamton fans woke up, they took notice, and they started coming to the playoff games. And when we got to the finals, it was loud, it was crazy, the chants, you can't hack it, all the crazy fun stuff. It was an amazing time to be a hockey fan in Binghamton in 2011. In May and June of 2011 was pretty intense. So I can understand why he would say that. But what people don't realize, it was the lowest attended Binghamton Senators season regular season ever, which was crazy. Out of 15 years, it was the year that they won the championship. So go to figure. But they had a subpar season. I mean, they were 8th in the Eastern Conference, crossed over to the Atlantic Division to play in the playoffs. So, but it's a season we're always going to talk about, and it's why it's in the upper half of my list.
All righty, so moving on to your number 3.
All right, that's the Binghamton Rangers. The Binghamton Rangers are 3rd on my list because of their 7-year average of 4,053 fans through 7 years. They averaged 4,053 fans coming through the turnstiles. And in the 92-93 season, still the best regular season in AHL and in AHL's long history. A 57 win, 13 loss, which is still a record. 13 losses is still the least amount of losses in the like a regulation loss in the history of the AHL, which has got like 90 years to it now. And they tied 10 times in that season. Saw the team garner 124 points, which is still a record today. 776 winning percentage, record today, second best in Binghamton hockey history to the Black Bears, of course. And they boast the overall best player performance of all time, which was Don Biggs, the first guest ever here on the Power Play Post Show, who scored 54 goals, 84 assists for 138 points. Still, that's a record today in the American Hockey League. This was truly the first time the NHL and the local ownership group tapped into the natural affiliation love of Binghamton fans, as a lot of fans in Binghamton are New York Ranger fans, like myself, and everything. So I'm a New York Rangers fan. To me, this was my favorite 7 years of hockey in Binghamton. Despite the championships that have been won by the Sens and the Black Bears, for me as a fan, best time. I got to see players that I rooted for in the New York Rangers play here in Binghamton, like Mike Richter and Corey Hirsch, and just some really great players that played in the NHL, played down here, and just some great minor leaguers as well. Ken Jernander, who was the captain of the team the last couple seasons and then went over to Hartford with the Wolfpack and was the captain for like 10 seasons over there. Phenomenal, fun stuff here. Unfortunately, the Rangers were stripped away from us, and there's still a lot of controversy on how that happened, as Tom Mitchell, the local ownership group, sold the team to MSG. They moved them out to Hartford, and there was a lot of controversy of why that happened, but they are number 3 on my list.
And now we're down to our final 2.
Yeah, so the final 2 comes down to the Binghamton Black Bears and the Dusters of the North American Hockey League. And I put it number 2. And I know some of our fans are not going to probably be happy with this. I put the Binghamton Black Bears. Now, we all know what the Black Bears have done so far in 4 seasons. They have an 851 winning percentage last year. They've won 2 championships. And I think that they could move up in the rankings to number 1, depending on how the next couple years go, right? It is single A hockey versus probably what would be considered single A hockey or double A hockey with the Dusters' first 4 seasons. So there's a little bit of a comparison there. But there's a reason why I have the Dusters number 1, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the Black Bears, listen, they've won 2 championships. They were phenomenal last year with 49 wins out of 56 wins. But the big reason why they're number 2, and this really does matter, and it's the reason why the Dusters are number 1, the attendance has been outstanding for this team. And they took a city that hasn't seen 4,000 fans on average in one season in 20 years. They brought that back last year. And averaging 4,300 fans was outstanding. So without a doubt, the fan engagement, the way the fans have been so excited about the Binghamton Black Bears, you guys listening to the show, engaging with us. I mean, Taylor had been on the show maybe once or twice, and you had her sign an autograph, right? That's pretty freaking cool. The fans here are as close to what the Dusters had the first 4 years than any team has had. You guys treat those hockey players like rock stars. You treat them like they're the Beatles in some cases. When you look down, Taylor, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you look down at that corner after a game and you see sometimes 50, sometimes 100 fans waiting to get autographs, it's something pretty special.
That corner is usually pretty hectic. We've gone down to that corner a couple times, and I usually stand pretty far back because I don't like to be in tight crowds. I usually just kind of like watch him try to get some autographs, but to sit back and just kind of watch these players come out and entertain and, you know, be with the fans and sign autographs and take pictures, especially after a game, like no matter what, it's so nice to see. And I feel like that's something that you didn't have when you had the higher leagues, is not quite the fan to player interaction. Yeah, I think that's what makes this league so nice.
Yeah, without a doubt. Number two, only because the Dusters in the first 4 seasons are the reason why we have the other 7 franchises. It's that simple. The North American Hockey League was developed by Jim Matthews. There was a league called the EHL that was basically folding, going out of business. And Jim Matthews, who owned a dealership here in Binghamton, and now everybody knows the Matthews Auto Group, he brought hockey here. He worked with the city to get the arena built. They were going to build the arena. They wanted the arena to be built, obviously, to be able to bring concerts and other things here. And when hockey started, it was a flurry. In the first 4 seasons of the Dusters being here, they sold out 77 games, okay? The next season that they went into the AHL, they sold out another 11 games and still had 4,600 fans here. They went to one Lockhart Cup appearance against the Johnstown Jets. The beginning of the craze is Binghamton Hockey. The impact of those 4 seasons cannot be competed with. Maybe the Black Bears in the next couple of seasons, if they continue to have the success they are, maybe. But the Slapshot movie is because of Binghamton and Johnstown and the impact of the tireless work of Jim Matthews. And honestly, when you read the articles, and I've read probably more articles than most people, except for a couple of the people that have written books and done the movies and the documentaries about the Dusters, there was a craze here. The Dusters were the closest thing that I just talked about with the Black Bears and the Beatles and the fans that there was. I mean, it was so much like a craze. Fans would travel to other cities. They would find the guys, you know, when the bus would pull over for gas, fans would show up and want autographs from these guys. It was a crazy, crazy time. And you cannot, every hockey player, young hockey fan has seen the movie Slapshot. It was such an impact, and the Syracuse Blazers, the Philadelphia Firebirds, the Broome Dusters, the Johnstown Jets, they were all the impetus of what became Slapshot. You just cannot put in words, and Slapshot has become such an iconic movie for hockey fans, like Miracle on Ice and a couple other movies, but Slapshot is huge. And Binghamton was a big part of that. And so were the Dusters. 77 sellouts. It's a great year. I have to put it number 1. The Black Bears were so close to being there because they do have the 2 championships and they've been outstanding. But I think, you know, when you have 77 sellouts in 4 seasons, you just can't compare with that. It's pretty amazing.
I don't blame you for putting them number 1 if they're the reason that, you know, Binghamton's a hockey town now.
Yeah. They created a craze. Like, listen, there were fans that went to Duster games. They had kids who went to, say, Ranger games, right? As they got older, and they took their kids to Ranger games, and then their kids then went and took their kids to maybe, Senators games. And they're going to have kids, they're going to go to Black Bears games. And honestly, it all started with those first 4 years where it became such a craze. There's still enough people that were here back in the 70s that their families are still here today, and they go to the hockey games because their grandfather or their great-grandfather or their father went to games and saw the Dusters play. That's pretty impactful, and you cannot You cannot really compete with that, especially with all the sellouts and the legacy that Jim Matthews and the Dusters left behind. It's hard to surpass them. I mean, the Black Bears are, I honestly truly think they're getting close to that. But that is my top 8. Binghamton Whalers, Binghamton Devils, Dusters of the AHL, Icemen, Senators, Rangers, Black Bears, and the Dusters the first 4 years in North American Hockey League. There's my list.
Well, you survived getting through all 8.
Okay. So one of the other things that we wanted to talk about, we're going to move on from that, is the Thunderbirds re-signed Super Mario Cavaliere. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for the Thunderbirds? Taylor, you brought up something to me through Messenger within the last couple of days about this. What are your thoughts on this? Because I'm really interested on your thoughts, and I know you have some numbers even about this.
I do have some numbers, and even after looking at the numbers and looking at like the save percentages and stuff, I kind of came to the conclusion that maybe it's not exactly all about the player, and maybe it's just either the team or like coaching per se. And I'm not picking on Carolina or picking on Cavaliere or saying anything negative about him at all. This is just purely my opinion, and I know at the end of last year I had a conversation with somebody about him, and we just kind of like rattled off like our opinions about it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I've stood this whole time. So it's nothing against Cavaliere, and I do think he is a good goalie. But having a good goalie is great for the regular season, but you also need a goalie that you can count on to get you through the playoffs. And you could look at this several different ways. On one end, you could say, well, they made it to the finals 3 years in a row, but in 3 years in a row, they still have no championship. Granted, Cavaliere did not play in the playoffs in the 22-23 season, but at what point do you have to make a change, or is getting to the finals enough for Carolina?
It's interesting.
And again, I'm not picking on Cavaliere or picking on Carolina. I think I've just kind of caught on to maybe Brant's mindset of if it's not good enough, you need to change it up. And if you don't change it, like if you look at the last 3 years for us, mm-hmm. the 2022-23 season, we had Forget, McVeigh, and Joseph for our goalies.
Yeah.
But for the playoffs, he only played Joseph.
Yeah.
The 23-24 season, we had Eggy and C-Mac. He only played C-Mac for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. The last season, we had Eggy, Hapward, and C-Mac. Again, he only played C-Mac.
Okay.
If you look at Carolina, they kind of shuffle their goalies where they might play this one or they might play that one, where, you know, their goalies kind of get a game here or there. So do you just kind of look at it that maybe you just need to stick with one goalie and give them that shot? Do mm-hmm. you keep changing it up? I know 3 years getting to the finals sounds really great, but at the same time, how can they get so far to the finals and then they haven't gotten, you know, the championship out of it?
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills made it to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row back in the 90s, and they lost all 4 years. Do people go back and look at that and go, oh, well, you know, I mean, that was a great, you know, 4 years for the Buffalo Bills? Or they go, damn, man, you know, the Bills are kind of like a little bit of a running joke because they lost 4 years in a row. Jim Kelly was a great quarterback, and he's always looked at fondly, but he still didn't win a Super Bowl. You know, say they go another couple seasons with Mario and he doesn't win. How do we look at that history-wise? Do we go, well, he was a really good goalie, but he wasn't C-Mac. The team was good, but they didn't win championships like the Black Bears. So it is an interesting conversation. Did they make a mistake re-signing him? Should they have moved on? Should they have gone and found somebody else to come in and maybe give Mario a chance to go somewhere else and maybe be successful? Maybe Mario goes to the Monroe Moccasins and they win a championship next year, right? You know, you don't know. Is Super Mario, in your opinion, let me ask you this question. Is Mario Cavaliere, in your opinion, the second best goaltender in the Fed?
Oh,
it's hard to declare that, right?
It is. And if you kind of like jump back this season, everybody on the other side said that, oh, well, Binghamton has all easy teams. Well, Binghamton has this, that, and the third. But Cavaliere had, 5 shutouts in the regular season?
Yeah.
And CMAC didn't seem to get most of his shutouts until the playoffs, it seemed like.
And
so it's just...
When's the important time to get the shutouts, right? The playoffs.
Yeah, and if you look at CMAC, I mean, yes, he played great all year. I will definitely not take that away from him, but he played even better in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, and that's like, you need to be able to rely on your goalie, and I just feel like that's where maybe Carolina's dropping the ball, or I'm not really sure. It just seems like they get to the playoffs and they kind of stumble a little bit.
And they can't close. And you're not saying it's Mario's fault. You're just wondering if a change at goaltending might help. Or being more consistent. Maybe play him all the way through.
Or maybe he just, like, maybe if he, because if you look at the last 2 seasons, Columbus was supposed to have home ice advantage had they won against Carolina.
Yeah.
But then Carolina beat them out. So both times Carolina hasn't had home ice advantage with him playing. So maybe he just kind of like gets in his own head when he's in other arenas, and maybe he doesn't play the best of his ability. And maybe like that's something that he just needs to work on personally. I'm not sure, but it just seems like every time they get that close, the ball falls just too short.
Excellent. Excellent. Great analysis. I love it. When we saw the signing of Cavaliere, you actually saw it before I did. You kind of came to me and said, hey, was this really the right move for them? And, I don't know, because I do believe he's one of the better goaltenders in the league. But what you're basically saying is maybe they haven't played it the right way, especially in the playoffs. And it's an interesting conversation because, again, Brant Sherwood, CMAC, Taylor Joseph, when they are playing, they're playing all the games through, because that's old school hockey coaching mentality, right? You go with your number one through the playoffs. More recently, probably in the last 5 years, we've seen hockey teams that have been successful in the NHL change that up a little bit and maybe play their backup goaltender here and there in the playoffs. But normally you play them straight through. It's an interesting conversation. I'm glad you brought it up, because I think it's a very good one.
Well, maybe Cavaliere just needs to do what CMAC did and tell the coach that he would fight him if he didn't play him for the entire series.
Love it. You got to love that, right? you got to love that with CMAC. I mean, 2 years ago, they went on a 4-game losing streak. He goes into the locker room and said, guys, I'm not losing again. And they went 13-0 the next 13 games, won the championship. CMAC does have a quiet confidence about him, right? Where he'll declare something and then he does it. So maybe that is something that Mario Cavaliere can learn from CMAC from. I don't know. Some people call that cockiness too. That's probably the argument against the Black Bears as well. They're too cocky and stuff, but they've won 2 championships. So I think they have the ability to be cocky.
I wouldn't really call it cockiness. I mean, if you pay attention to how they play the game, when something is going wrong, like if we go down a couple goals in the first period, they're in that locker room talking about what's going on. Or CMAC might be like, you guys need to play. Like, I can't do all of the work, kind of a thing. And they come out and they do that, where maybe they don't have the communication like that for other teams. Like maybe Mario doesn't tell his guys, like, you guys need to play in front of me better because they're, getting goals on me.
Or get out of my way. Or get out of my way. Because that's one of the things that CMAC says all the time. He goes, either block the shot or get out of the way.
Right. Let me see it or get it.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting. Very, very good. All right. So coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show is Nolan Egbert. If you're still with us, it's a great interview. I promise you. I know we ran very long, but we had some good stuff to talk about. But coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show is Nolan Egbert. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Just really excited to have this gentleman on. I always have a pleasure getting to talk with him, even if we have to figure out some technology aspects of the conversation, which we did a little bit earlier, but that's neither here or there. He comes to us. I think he's on Long Island right now somewhere, right? I know he was in Connecticut earlier today. We'll talk all about that here in just a few seconds. But he is Binghamton Black Bears goaltender, two-time Commissioner's Cup champion, Nolan Egbert. Nolan, welcome back to the show. Eggie, it's great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you again, too, Bob. Even if it's got to be by carrier pigeon or by telegraph, we'll figure out a way to do it.
You know, absolutely. Eggie, let's just talk. I want to talk a little bit about hockey, and then I want to just talk about some music and some fun things for the fans. But you were training with your goalie coach earlier today. Same goalie coach you did. I know last year we talked in the summertime. We talked about these things as well. Tell me a little bit about, your sessions today with your goalie coach and how things are going in training camp this year.
So I actually did make a change this summer. I've been working more with another goalie coach, same organization of guys, but my usual goalie coach, Craig Height, just became a father, so his time is a little stretched thin at the moment. So working with funny enough, his name is also Craig Ryan, but I just call him CR for simplicity's sake. But we've been working. I guess every week now for the past, 2 months now, just trying to, really trying to put an emphasis on my footwork and movement this off season. I mean, there's only so much time you need to be a target, getting a million pucks thrown. I'll have plenty of time for that as the off season moves along. But for now, it's about the minutia of the game. So. Yeah, I go to Connecticut to train with him. Not that there's no goalie coaches on Long Island, but just I guess I'm a creature of habit at this point. I've been going since I was 16, 17, really since I got my license. So I figure at this point now it's a bit too late to change anything up too dramatically.
Now, obviously, a new goaltending coach to kind of work with you. Has there been a different mindset? Is there a different style between the goalie coaches? And do you think that would be helpful for you?
You're never going to get an identical goalie coach, even if so they work within the same goalie coaching organization that go by Connecticut Crease. So it's a group of coaches who all generally keep similar philosophies together. So it's not too far of a departure. The only difference being it's a bit more. He puts more of an emphasis away from the puck. So just your movement and being able to get to the play or reading it a little bit quicker, which is something I felt was lacking in my game this past season. Just led to some inconsistency. So I figure if I'm going to change anything, then you have to change your routines a little bit. Now,
for you, other than getting to the puck a little bit better, was there anything else you wanted to work on this summer?
Well, I always like to joke that goalie coaches are more like psychologists once you pass a certain age. So getting a different voice in my ear I thought was valuable as well too. So honestly, getting a different pair of eyes is useful in seeing what might be a flaw in my game that I might not have recognized, or someone who's been working with me for a very long time may have gotten used to and wouldn't think to point out. So really just working with things as they come along. Nothing's been particularly egregiously bad that's needed to be radically changed, but little, here and there.
A lot of guys during the summertime work a lot on, maybe their stamina, maybe, getting on the bike a little bit more, maybe running a little bit more, weight training. What kind of things do you do outside of just, driving up to Connecticut and obviously working with your goalie coach to train? Is there, I've seen you, before games, doing your little routine, bounce it with the ball and everything. But what are the types of things that you do training wise in the summertime?
So typically I'm in the gym most days of the week, typically weekdays. I guess as a goaltender, you're not too focused on your upper body. Everything is lower body adjacent. So I go to a gym with a trainer with a lot of the Long Island pros and college players, whatnot. So they're very good with making programs kind of dedicated to whatever position you're playing in the sport. So we always like to joke, upper body day is just an extension of leg day as well, because typically it's always something where it's like, okay, you're gonna jerk into an overhead press, but it involves a full squat before you get to it. So it's all very goaltender oriented, just because we're 90% of the game is based on your core and your legs and your back. So you're really not going to find too many goaltenders who are pumping crazy iron. Just a whole lot of squats and variations on the leg.
Okay, so between the four of you, because you've been around four goaltenders in the last 2 years with the Binghamton Black Bears, who is the strongest of the four of you?
C-Mac, no doubt. He is
really?
He is a freak of nature. He's he can move around some heavyweight. He's you see him off the ice, he takes off his gear. There's always the joke that goalies look like turtles without their shells once they take off everything. But no, C-Mac still has some presence to him.
Yeah, because Sam's a smaller guy. You're not as small, but you're not also big either. And CJ, I haven't seen a lot of him to know. So C-Mac is definitely, I thought there was the height there. Obviously, he's the tallest of the four of you guys. But just pumping iron, he's strong all around, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's for someone who's taking up a side gig as a bouncer for a bar, you better be somewhat physically intimidating.
This is very true. So one last thing about training in the summertime that I want to ask you about. I know some of the guys will play in some, confidential, secretive kind of leagues. Yeah, C-Mac definitely does that. But there are definitely guys who get together with the pros in the area. I know you said you train with some of the pros on Long Island in some cases. But do you get on the ice and actually play any games in the summertime with, other pros and college players?
So yes, actually, so Long Island, we have what we call the Superior League. That's pretty much all the local pro and college guys. The higher level junior guys will all make teams, get together, and play against the equivalent of men's league hockey, just with a little bit more competition involved with it. Some of the games get somewhat gritty, especially if you have enough older guys involved and the younger ones start running their mouth a bit too much. But it's a fun time. It becomes a bit exhausting. I always wish it went a little bit further into the summer, just because this is the point where you begin training. Yet, some of these teams, the younger guys, are into it immediately. It takes guys like me and some of the retired guys a little bit more time to build up momentum to get into competition shape again, but it's fun regardless. One of the teams actually has Jimmy Hagens, who just went to the Bruins in the draft.
Yeah.
So whenever he's playing, it draws a little bit of a crowd.
No, that's very true. Now, but how important are these little mini leagues for players to play in the summertime? Because I remember as a kid, we would play multiple sports, right? And when you weren't playing one sport, you'd be playing another sport, fall, spring, that type of thing. And then eventually when you knew that hockey was your thing or baseball was your thing, football was your thing, that's all you played, but you didn't always play all year long. How important is it to get into some of these games during the summertime for your ability to kind of stay sharp, I guess, even during the summer?
It's a nice halfway point during the summer to especially once it crosses into July, to start applying the stuff you've been training to kind of get ready for the season, test out almost in a way like to dry run, new concepts that you've been working on, see how it's translating to the unexpected nature of a game. But as far as development goes, I can't say it's too huge, but you can never underestimate the benefit of being in an unexpected situation, which you're only going to get in a game type situation. That's not to say that has to come in a dedicated league. That could always be at the end of a skill session with like a 3-on-3 sort of mini game or whatnot. But full ice 5-on-5 is its own sort of animal. So I guess in that sense, it plays its role.
Connor, Eggy, let me ask you this question, because I just thought about it. How important is doing the summer sessions? Also, can you kind of compare that to, when you and Sam and Connor went up to Syracuse to actually get to do some of those sessions with the AHL guys? Because I got to imagine both are kind of important, but in their own ways.
Yeah, so the skill level is obviously comparable. The biggest difference is the concentration of the skill, because typically during the off season where you're working with these guys, you're at any given time you probably have at most 3 NHLers on the ice, and then maybe 1 or 2 AHLers, and then you start getting into the prospects territory.
Sure.
And they all have crazy amount of skill, but they're not in season mentality yet. They're working on their own stuff. They're not as I guess, for lack of a better term, as driven yet. They're still feeling things out. And then when you get to a place like Syracuse, they're in the thick of the season, and there's a consistent skill level across the whole roster, all 20 guys plus who are on the ice. So there's never a dip really in quality. Plus they're in the flow at the moment. So it becomes a little tougher, but I could say, they are similar, especially when you start getting into in tight stuff, like when stuff requires pure skill and not just nose the grind sort of hard play.
Before we move on to music, when you're on the ice with a few NHLers or an NHLer and he shoots on you and you make a good save on that NHLer, how does that help your psyche a little bit to know that, because they're shooting against a guy who's playing right now in single A hockey, right? But you just made a good save. How important is that to your psyche to be able to know that you can do that?
I guess the best word would be, satisfaction. It's you feel like you're not out of your weight class in a sense, where you're thinking to yourself like, okay, if with any sense of continuity I could bring from this into next season, then it helps you mentally as the season goes along. So you think to yourself like, look, I don't care what star is on the other team. I know I've played against someone better than him. I know I've bested someone better than him. So it builds like that confidence, especially early on in the season when you're not, regardless of who you are, you're generally on thin ice when it comes to, playing time, how the season's going to go out. Because a good start is everything. If you get to a slow start, it's so hard to crawl back from that, to get uphill. I mean, my first season was, it had a decent start, and then it cratered for a little bit, and then you crawl back up, and it takes a while to rebuild that confidence. So to have it early on is a big deal, and I think that's the biggest thing you get from working with high-level pros.
Yeah, and they don't treat you guys any differently, right? I think they appreciate just that you're a hockey player just like them, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, hockey players, I think, are probably some of the most down-to-earth athletes you could find. I mean, maybe baseball players have something a little similar just based on the demeanor. But no, hockey players are all respectful to each other, especially, too, because, I mean, as they go into the lower levels, it becomes a meaner and meaner game. So, if you could survive that, you're probably not you're not a pushover. You're someone that, it's interesting to talk to, especially, again, jokingly, when you're playing in a league that's best compared to Slapshot. They know you got some good stories to tell yourself.
No, that's true. Okay, before we move on to music, Nick Neidert became the head coach of the Danbury Hat-Tricks in this offseason. You have a relationship with Nick from your past. Can you talk a little bit about Nick Neidert, what we might be able to expect from a Nick Neidert head coach team?
Oh, yeah. So I've known Nick since, I think I've been getting my, I started getting my goalie gear from him, I guess, when I was around 10 years old. He was working at the time at a store called Wesco. He ran the goalie section there. So, and in addition to that, I worked with him. He goalie coached me on and off until I was, until he started moving around as a coach, because he had a prolific career himself. I mean, I recommend anyone who's listening to this to go look on his elite prospects right now, because that is a man who is well traveled and more than made himself a hell of a career in minor league hockey. I have nothing but respect for Nick. So, Nick is an extremely passionate guy. He's, one thing's for certain: he's never going to phone it in, no matter what he does. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to playing against him, and especially in a place like Danbury, where he really made a name for himself. I mean, he has his name on a banner up on the wall there, so he's going in with a lot of, clout, for lack of a better term, maybe stature. But no, I like Nick a lot. Nick was one of the guys who I reached out to originally, trying to get my foot in the door in pros, and he was I'll leave the details of the story out, but I absolutely went about it in the wrong way, and I'm lucky that it was Nick, because instead of getting blacklisted from pro hockey, I just got chewed out a little bit. That's funny, which was a good lesson. Yeah, it's funny. You told me the story earlier, and we'll leave it off air because it's kind of a funny story, and it's something that I can think about and go, wait, that doesn't sound like Nolan, but man, that's awesome that he did that. So we're just going to leave it at that. Nolan, that's awesome. But let's talk music for a little bit. You've already seen 2 great concerts already, and you listened to one in a car, which was awesome. But talk a little bit about going to see Ringo Starr, because I think when people think of the Beatles, they don't always think of Ringo first. But he has traveled around for probably 3 decades at least with his all-star band, and plays a lot of music, not just Beatles music, but lots of different music. Can you talk a little bit about your time watching Ringo Starr? So yeah, I bought tickets for that a decent while back. I was planning on seeing him before the beginning of last season. He was supposed to come to Radio City, but had to cancel a show due to illness. So I was very disappointed and worried I wasn't going to get a chance to see him live. But lucky for me, he announced a replacement show to kick off his summer tour. So I went with my girlfriend, and she's a big Beatles fan herself as well. She called me. She said I reminded her of George, so that was interesting. So I had to do some. So I had to look into myself, think, am I a George or not? But no, the show was fantastic. You want to talk about a spry octogenarian? That's Ringo Starr. I mean, he sprinted out on the stage like he was a man of many years younger than he actually is. He was it was him, and he was accompanied by the frontmen of Toto and Men at Work. Their names elude me at the moment, but fantastic show, because Ringo obviously played his solo stuff, his Beatles tunes, but in addition, they were both playing their hits as well. So you got to hear Hold the Line, Africa, nice. Who Could It Be, Land Down Under. So as far as just a musical performance, it was a absolutely fantastic show. I'd recommend anyone who could see Ringo, even if he's the butt of some Beatle jokes for quote unquote his lack of talent compared to the other 3 of the Fab Four. He's no slouch in himself. Well, let's be perfectly honest. The Beatles, when they first got together and they were put together as a band, they weren't really all that great with their instruments. They might have been decent songwriters, but they weren't great with their instruments. They came together, and over about a 6 or 7 year period of time, they became
pretty good at their instruments. And part of that is when you play so much like they did for so long, right? 6, 7, 8 years where they just nonstop toured and nonstop played, you start to get good at your instruments. And, George got really good and Paul got really good. And let's be honest, Ringo plays a style of drums that people don't play anymore. It's just the way it is. But probably the butt of the joke, people, pick on his nose and stuff, but I've heard nothing but good things. Anybody that I've ever spoken to that's gone to see Ringo live says it is out of this world.
Well, I'm a believer in that as well now. I think seeing is believing. So I saw, and now I believe. He's such an in the pocket drummer that he was never,
right.
He was so rock steady that it allowed the other guys to kind of get a bit loose and for it to all still sound cohesive. Because if you have a drummer who's drifting off in his own direction while the other guys are, trying to fight the crowd noise, it's become a real daunting task. So his role in the Beatles is, even as peacemaker when they all started to get a little bit at each other's throats, cannot be understated.
Absolutely. Now, this past Saturday, you went to go see Weird Al Yankovic. What a guy! What an artist! I love Weird Al. I mean, there isn't much of his music that I don't enjoy, and half of it makes me smile. The other half makes me think, because it is a lot smarter lyrically than people will probably give it credit for. You have to listen to it carefully. How was his performance?
So Weird Al, beyond the comparisons to his and my hair, it's
it happened
even before the hair. I mean, who doesn't love a Weird Al song or two when they're younger? And then as you get older, you almost have more of an appreciation for him and his band, because it's like, okay, that's a group of guys who have to be able to play every single genre of music that was popular over the last 40 years, which is an absolutely daunting task, especially to do it on stage as tight as that requires, was impressive, to say the least. And he still sounds fantastic as a 60-year-old man. He's still hitting every high note he was doing in the 80s and 90s plenty well today. And I think for pure entertainment value, I don't think I've smiled as much at a live musical performance as I did for that one. That was a absolute blast.
Now, as I told you, I Lost on Jeopardy is my favorite Weird Al Yankovic song. Fans, if you're listening to this, tell us what your favorite Weird Al Yankovic song is. But Nolan, what's your favorite one?
Without a doubt, Dare to Be Stupid. It's an original song of his. Yeah, it's a style of Devo, but it's an original song of his. It just goes to show he's a talented songwriter in himself. I mean, you can't make parodies for that long if you're not original. So, I mean, half the time, especially for the later stuff, you could argue the lyrics a little bit more insightful than what they're based off of. Like, the song Blurred Lines is certainly improved by a grammatical lesson on word crimes.
No, absolutely. And if people don't know, Weird Al Yankovic's father was really famous in the polka, and very popular and very talented as well.
Yeah, I would have to assume that his father had some
skill,
musical talent, and especially with the accordion, if he could get his son to start playing one. But for anyone who needs a movie recommendation, the Weird Al movie that came out, I think, 2 years ago now with Daniel Radcliffe, one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, because, like everything he's done in his life as a parody, it's a parody of every musical, biopic of a famous artist that's ever come out, with, the big moments, the crash and the rise and fall, all done to such wild degrees of absurdity. It's hilarious. I really highly recommend it.
And what's funny, and I'm not surprised that a movie about Weird Al would be a parody of movie docs, which doesn't surprise me at all. I think the one that was so over the top for him, it was probably Fat. Do you remember the song Fat? And him in the video getting all dressed up with the fat suit. Just crazy, but so over the top that you couldn't help but love it because it was so over the top.
He performed it live. He did the fat suit and everything.
No way.
He came out with the fat suit, the prosthetics on his face, spinning around and crap. You know what's funny is that Michael Jackson was a big fan of Al during the 80s. When he asked for permission to do the song, he was so enthusiastic. They said, "Okay, go to the set. They're tearing it down in 2 weeks. Use the set from Bad to film a music video for Fat before it's gone, please. That's free of charge."
That's awesome. I mean, that's because he's beloved, right? I think he's only been turned down a couple of times to do a parody of a song. Only a couple of times. Otherwise, he does ask for permission, and almost all the time, the musicians agree to it and say, "Yeah, I can't wait to hear this," or "It's going to be crazy." He's only been turned down a couple of times.
Well, I mean, most musicians have to see it as a badge of honor that you're culturally significant enough to be made fun of by the best.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. Any other concerts this summer that you are planning to go to?
So it's a very backloaded summer where I'm going to have to consider my financials, but I'm going to try to see as many as possible. Well, I missed Creed last night. I was a little disappointed with that. But it just didn't work out with the timing, which was unfortunate. But coming up, Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson, along with Wilco, are all playing a show together at Jones Beach Theater, which is going to be should be fun. Obviously everyone says Bob Dylan can't sing anymore, but for the sake of seeing Bob Dylan, I'm willing to deal with some hoarse vocals. But the man himself's a legend, so I'm willing to give it a pass.
He's a legend. He's written some amazing lyrics that sometimes he's tried to sing or other people have sung. And I think that's probably more impressive, his ability to put words onto paper that most people just, would never be able to think of. And they're so politically insightful and whatnot. Now, personally, I don't think he's been able to sing for the last 50 years, but that's just me. That's just me. But I respect what he's done in the business because he's been culturally important, in our country. So I totally get that. So I completely understand why you would want to go and see him live. And then Willie Nelson is just like, he just gets up there with an acoustic guitar and he could play for hours and it would be enjoyable to listen to.
Exactly. So I got that. I think that's in another 2 weeks. I gotta be certain about that. I know Steve Miller Band is coming around.
Yes. Very good. Very good. See, what I love about you is that you will go and listen and watch almost any genre of music. It sounds like, right? I mean, does that come from your parents, or where does that come from for you?
It certainly comes from my parents. They're huge fans of live music. They've slowed it down as time has gone on. But no, I mean, you come to have an appreciation of the act of performing along with the music itself. Like anything on a record is fantastic in its own right, but then to see it reproduced on a live stage, like in the moment, is another completely other thing, along with the experience that comes with it. Experiencing it with a room or a crowd of people just adds something to it that you can't really buy on a record. So if I have to spend a little bit of extra money to have an experience that I haven't forgotten the concert I've gone to so far. So for a lifetime memory, there's only so much I'm not willing to spend. I mean, there is a limit, but my bank account. But
well, and there's another element to this too, right? Because once you then pick up a bass guitar or a guitar and you start learning how to play, you then more appreciate the musicianship of a band, of a song, of an artist, that type of thing. When I was younger, when I was a teenager, I didn't understand this aspect as much. Even though I was playing, I was picking up a guitar, a drum set, whatever it might be, piano, and I'd play, but I was so full of myself back then, I didn't appreciate it now today. That's why when, they just had Maroon 5 here for the Dick's Open, which is the Champions Tour, and they had Maroon 5 there. And I was just like, man, I hope everybody loved the show. I hope the show was great. I don't even know a Maroon 5. I couldn't name a Maroon 5 song. I probably know a few because they've been on the radio so much, but I couldn't. But I just wanted everyone who was there to enjoy that show, because live music, regardless of what it is generally pretty awesome to witness. And I appreciate that more now, because I do play guitar, because I have been a musician for a long time, and and a songwriter, and I know what it takes to put that in there. And I know that you play bass and you play guitar, and you're playing guitar a little bit more now than you have, and you can really get the appreciation of the musician, even if it's a song you really don't get into.
Absolutely, it's like watching a sporting event. You see an athlete do something that if you've ever put on skates in your life and then you go to a hockey game and you see what they're able to do with that, it becomes you can put it into context so much more. How much passion and pride they put into what they're doing, and how much it requires from them to do it at the level at which they're doing it, especially with the prying eyes of how many people have come to watch. It's I think that's the way I've kind of come to appreciate it. It's like going to a sporting event.
Yeah. And, we've talked about music for almost 20 minutes now. We have not brought up Rush or Pink Floyd, so that's pretty good.
I'd like to think I'm somewhat versatile in my musical taste.
Well, I agree. Now, one of the things that I thought was pretty cool, you told me off air, was that you didn't go watch the Beach Boys. You actually went and listened to the Beach Boys. Tell us this story. What got you guys at Jones Beach, but you weren't actually at the concert, you were just listening?
So for context for anyone who doesn't know, Jones Beach Theater is a open-air amphitheater, but tickets for the show were a little bit more expensive than I was willing to spend to see what is a mostly depleted Beach Boys roster. Not to say that the band is not still good, but
yeah,
for whatever price they were trying to charge, I was like, well, I'll go. Me and a friend of mine went to the show, went to the parking lot. Tickets prices weren't going down, so we took two beach chairs out of the trunk of the car, brought a drink or two over to the end of the parking lot, as close as we could to the building without security kicking us out, and just put the chairs down and listened to the show play over the air. Couldn't see the band, couldn't really see anything of the stage. Maybe a couple seats were visible, so you kind of get a gauged reaction to what they were reacting to. But no, beyond that, it was just a lovely background noise and a lovely summer night.
Yeah. So, did the sun go down during the show? During the show, did the sun go down? I mean, were you there in pitch dark at one point, or was there light? I mean, how does that work if you're going to just go? Because I have a friend who went to go see the Grateful Dead up in Buffalo, right? At the football stadium. Now, this is back in probably the late '80s, early '90s when he went to go do this. He goes there. It's the middle of the summertime. I'm not sure when the Dead played. But when he came back, he was so blistered from the sunburns that he had, because he didn't actually go into the concert. He didn't even go into the stadium. He was out in the parking lot, because he said that was the experience. That was the real experience of going to the Grateful Dead, was just going there and hanging out with all these like-minded people, maybe partaking in a particular smoke of some sort. I don't know. But he came back so sunburned and everything. What was that experience like, going to a concert but not really being at the concert?
It was very chill. It's not like the Beach Boys exactly bring out too many...
craziness?
Too much craziness, yeah, for the age group that they attract. So it was honestly very pleasant. The show began kind of right as the sun started to go down.
Cool.
It was pretty much night for most of the show, and we were close enough to the building that the parking lot was lit up. The lights from the building were flooding out, so it wasn't like we were in pitch blackness or anything. We still had still able to see what we were reaching for in the cooler, but No, it was a cheap way to experience a little bit of live music without needing to overspend.
Now, is there a song for you in the Beach Boys catalog that just speaks to Nolan Egbert? Is there a song that you really love by them?
I'm sure Beach Boys purists would be mad at me if I mentioned it for.
Don't say Kokomo. Don't say Kokomo.
Kokomo got stuck in my head, I think, for a solid 4 months. It's such a delightful song, you have to admit.
Oh, it's my least favorite Beach Boys song of all time. Least favorite.
I mean, everything on Pet Sounds is lovely in its own right, but nothing has been an earworm the way Kokomo got into my head.
Wow, I can't believe that this has been brought up, and I don't like Kokomo. I don't know why. It was the return of the Beach Boys in the mid '80s, if I remember correctly, early '90s. No, maybe it was mid '80s, but it was and it was the song that just kind of broke craziness. I think there was a Tom Cruise movie that it was in, and I just don't like that song at all. So, but
absolutely valid. I understand why, but that doesn't change my
doesn't change your answer.
Chemistry for it.
that's quite all right. Obviously, you saw the news. Connor McAnanama signed back with the Binghamton Black Bears. But I wanted to ask you, because Taylor and I talked about this a little bit last week. He also signed with a management team. Just a simple fact that he's been so good these last 2 seasons. I've said publicly, I think he should try to play in the ECHL and whatnot. What are your thoughts on not just Connor's abilities, but, his mindset? Should he be thinking about a higher league, about AA hockey?
I think no doubt he would have the opportunity to get a spot, probably a very good spot in the SPHL. But I think as far as we're concerned, if he's playing single A hockey, he wants to do it in Binghamton. It's an area he's comfortable with. He's close enough to home. I mean, the team is so close together that it becomes an issue of why would you want to start over? Plus, honestly, on the financial side of things, it's not like he'd be, wildly overpaid as an SPHL goaltender. The pay would be fairly comparable. So it doesn't make very much sense for him to reach for the SPHL. Now, if he were to get a ECHL tryout or a contract, that's a different story. I think he's good enough to do it. It'll just be a matter of whether or not a team is willing to give him that opportunity, because if he gets the opportunity, I think he'll make the most of it.
But what's interesting, Nolan, is that Tyson also had the same opportunity last year. He could have gone to Worcester when they picked him up after he was dropped by the Reading Royals. Worcester picked him up. He made the decision to come back to Binghamton. Without speaking for Tyson and without really speaking for Connor, why do you think that is? Why do you think Tyson would want to come back and play in Binghamton? Now, of course, winning 2 championships, hey, that's a pretty good thing, right? But there's got to be something there that says, hey, instead of playing in AA hockey, I'm going to play in Binghamton. You've been here for the last 2 years. What are the reasons why?
Well, as I said, with the similar reasons with CNAC, but on top of that, I mean, for a guy like Tyson to be the face of a franchise is something you can't really put a price on, even if you're moving up. I mean, as fun as everything is, we also have to recognize the fact that we're not we're guys who we won't get to the AHL. We certainly won't sniff the NHL. So with what we have for our professional careers in hockey, it's about making the most of the time we have doing it, enjoying every day, going into the rink, walking out of it. And for a guy like Tyson, job security is a big thing as well. Be a ECHL guy. I mean, it's not like he'd be getting top line minutes immediately. Even if a team wants him, that's no guarantee that he'll be in the lineup every single night. Now, for Connor, I think it's a little bit different, because if he were to get onto a team, that's the difference between goaltender and a forward. It's either you're the guy or you're not in net. There's no sheltered minutes for a goaltender. So if you can make that work, then it's a little bit easier to stick around. But for a player, so many things can be out of your control that just that boot you back down and move you around in a way that's not exactly conducive to I won't say comfortable lifestyle, because it's not like any of us are making money hand over fist.
No.
But I guess for state of mind, knowing that you're somewhere and you're not going to be forced to move or be evicted at any certain, like, on a week-to-week basis is a big deal. Just even mentally, and honestly, it probably boils down to a physicality as well, because if you keep moving, you're going to get exhausted very quickly.
Yeah. And I've had people tell me this before. There are the least amount of jobs as a goaltender in pro hockey in North America. Defensemen have, more chances. There's more chances for forwards. And it's just tougher. These same people have said to me, that also means that a goaltender in the NHL and a goaltender, even in single A hockey, are a lot closer skill level wise than forwards are to maybe Connor McDavid. Right. And we're talking about the best maybe forward in the NHL at this point. That is also an aspect that just makes me like look at Connor and you and Brian Wilson, who played with Danbury and now plays in the SPHL, and other goaltenders in the Fed, to go, sometimes people don't give these guys enough credit. They are a lot better than maybe the level of hockey dictates that they should be, right? Because there are so few goaltending positions in pro hockey that some of these guys are a lot closer to the talent level in the NHL than other players on the team.
Now, obviously, I'm coming from a position of bias, being a goaltender myself, but it's it becomes down to a numbers issue where the difference between let's say a first line forward in the FPHL to a fourth line player in the NHL is
huge.
Think
difference.
about how many roster spots are above them. Like, each team has 12 forwards ahead of them. It's so it jumps up to the minimum 40 plus 50 people in front of you on that depth chart.
Yeah. A
goaltender is maybe only about
10 or 12.
A plane and 2 bus crashes from playing a game in the NHL.
Okay, that's really kind of the demented way of looking at it, but it's true. But it's like 10 positions, right? If you were, maybe 10 or 8 positions in between single A hockey and an NHL goaltender. So it's definitely one of those things. Now, of course, you could always include, there's goaltenders in the KHL and in other places that have high level of hockey, but we're talking about North America. We're talking about North America, where there are 5 professional leagues. I guess the LAHL or whatever it is, the senior, really high level senior league up in was it in Quebec? I think it is. You've got that one too, but realistically, the difference between a goaltender in the Fed and a goaltender in NHL, there's a reason why you take shots against NHL goaltender or NHL players in the summertime, because they know that you guys can stand up and play. Because Connor does the same thing. He plays in a league where there's NHL guys playing in there during the summertime.
Yeah, it becomes again, I'm not saying that an FPHL goaltender is only a few stops away from getting the NHL. Of course, there are plenty of different avenues that team would be more than willing to sign and from overseas before they start reaching that low down the barrel. But the point being, North America, say if you made illiterate North American skaters who are currently playing in a North American league, you'd get down to the bottom of the AHL. You did, or math was never my strong suit, so please, anyone correct me if I'm wrong on that. But if you did top 200 goaltenders, you're going down to possibly the bottom of the FPHL. There's only so many goaltenders actively playing in North America professionally that it becomes almost a crushed beer can in a sense, where everyone's a lot closer to the top than they are to the bottom or the middle of the pack. It's all very squished together.
No, that's absolutely true. Thank you for talking to me about that, and thank you very much for spending some time with me here in the summertime. I hope you get to see another couple of shows if you can this summer before you have to really go back to work and be a goaltender and fight for a position and play. play hockey. And the summertime, I know you guys train hard, but I hope that you guys also, kind of play hard a little bit as well, because you kind of have to, enjoy that summertime whenever you can.
Of course, during the dog days of the season, these are the days you're kind of wishing you could feel out a little bit more again. So trying to enjoy it while it's around, but more than excited for the season, counting the days at this point.
Awesome. He is Nolan Egbert, two-time Commissioner Cup champion for the Binghamton Black Bears. Nolan, Eggy, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Bobby, always a pleasure.
Awesome. And we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton Hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. While you were listening to that commercial, literally Taylor and I were still talking about Mario Cavaliere and the reasons why we're not sure if he's the right guy for Carolina, or maybe Carolina's not the right team for him. It is a very interesting conversation. If you're a fan out there and you're listening to this and you have an opinion about Mario and what maybe Carolina has to do differently to maybe get that win against the First of all, they got to get a win against the Binghamton Black Bears. I mean, last year they had one loss in the regular season, and then they lost 3 more games in the playoffs. Go to the season before that, they lost 3 in the playoffs, and then they did get a win 2 years ago against the Black Bears. But it's been a while. Maybe the Black Bears are in the heads of the Carolina Thunderbirds. And, most of those games, Taylor, have been pretty respectful on the ice, if you think about it.
Yeah, Carolina is usually my favorite team to face against because, it's not those high-scoring games that some fans love because it's just, so many goals kind of gets the crowd hyped. But for some reason, I love those 1-0 games because you just know that they are working so hard and that you just have two really talented teams facing each other. Yeah,
the intensity is what can be substituted for a lot of goals, right? Everybody likes it when Binghamton beats Danbury 9-0. That's great. Everybody wants to see that. Danbury wants to see it when they beat us like 9-0. Their fans want to see that. But the intensity of a playoff atmosphere kind of game, we got that last year in the regular season. The 1-0 game between Carolina and Binghamton was really, really good, and the intensity kind of takes over for not having 5 or 6 goals in a game, because when Austin Thompson did score that 1 goal in the regulation game, that was pretty crazy. Everybody got pretty hyped up. And then there was the intensity again after that, where is Carolina going to score? Is Carolina going to tie it up? Are they going to tie it up? Are they going to tie it up? And then boom, you get down to the last 3 minutes. Feels like a playoff game because they're in front of Connor most of the time and he's got to defend.
And he does a superb job doing it.
Yes, and we still talked about him today. Yep. We can't ignore it. I'm sorry. I also know that within that household, there's some people angry with me because of my comments last week. So, all right. Well, I apologize to everybody. I don't want anyone to be mad at me. Nothing I can do about it. But either way. All right, the Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell because then you'll get notified. I guess that's a thing. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search for Power Play Post Show. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Thank you to Rob Lapoulis, our MC, who is right now recording a new intro for our show for season 15. Really excited about that. I I want to thank John Petitucci, our musical director. We're going to continue to use his great music. I love his music. He's one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. And of course, Black Bears netminder Nolan Egbert. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And we'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.